Welcome back to our F1 2020 Ferrari Return to Glory career mode. Today we've got another brand new race to the calendar then, the Dutch Grand Prix at the Zandvoort circuit. I guess it's not technically brand new, but it will be for everyone on the grid today because it's been many years since F1 last race here, and we'll be hoping we can get a good result here then for our first race of our career here then. As we look at the updates then, things are coming along quite nicely then. We're back up to third in both the chassis and the aero, but we've still got a lot of work to do if we're going to be anywhere near the front, and especially as these are the only parts we can upgrade at the moment. We've certainly got a lot of work to do then if we're going to be competitive this season with Mercedes and Red Bull, and also to maintain our lead really in the midfield fight, because I don't think we're really one of the top three. I think we're leading the midfield behind the top two. So you can see then that the customer teams are starting to pull away a bit, but they're still ahead of the Renault teams and the Honda teams. And in terms of durability, well, just no one has upgraded anything apparently, because we're still at the top in that one. So yeah, it's going to be a while, I think, before we're really getting caught up, but I think that's why I think setting it about the halfway point in the season will give everyone else a chance to have caught up by then, and then we can start from the bottom where we should be really. So we now head then to the fourth round of the season for the Dutch Grand Prix at the Zandvoort circuit. Then we'll have a look at how things are actually looking now then in terms of the R&D progress. We are about level, I'd say, with Racing Point. I thought we may well have been a bit ahead actually, but no, we have certainly caught up to them though, and I'd say we're about level then. We've got a bit of a gap now to McLaren and Renault there, whilst, yeah, as I said, Mercedes and Red Bull are well clear. Looking at the forecast then for the weekend, it's looking like Saturday afternoon could be a bit of a washout then, so yeah, it's looking like we won't really be running dry tyres then in qualifying, so that certainly opens up some strategy possibilities then. Looking at our power unit and the control electronics then are already very worn out, so we'll probably use these in practice, and then it'll be on to our second set out of two for the qualifying and the race. Second set out of two, and we've still got another 12 races to go after this, so it's looking like we're going to be hit with some big penalties later on in the season, and maybe even not even that late in the season, as we head then into practice, just making sure we do something so that the team aren't too annoyed at us then. But yeah, just only contributing a little bit then to the R&D points, and we do at least gain another level then on our driver acclaim. So we now head to qualifying, and yep, as predicted, it is looking like very bad conditions then for this session. So yeah, I don't know if we'll be running on dries. It doesn't look like it, as Binotto then, I don't know what he's going to tell us there, but nonetheless then in Q1 it actually did improve the weather conditions, so I did have to go back out right at the end here then just to make sure that I wasn't bumped down. And as you can see, we're improving by nearly a second and a half at the end here then, and we actually go second with that lap time, only behind Lewis Hamilton. So we did alright there then, as it's Leclerc for once who's down in 12th place, and it is, well, the usual suspects that went out then, but Latifi qualified Russell, so that is a bit different. Onto Q2, and it was actually drying up quite a bit, and in fact I believe the rain had actually stopped, so by the end of this session, maybe even not by the end of qualifying, we could end up on dry. So we're going to have to really watch out here then to make sure we don't get caught out by the conditions. We want to be last over the line wherever possible, as we see then our second lap in Q2, because we actually did two runs on this initial set of tyres then, and we stayed in third place then with just Hamilton and Leclerc in front of us. It actually did get dry enough for slick tyres then by the end of Q2, so we had to go again here then, because as you can see, well, we're just getting bumped down the order now by cars that were all going out on the slick tyres then. But as I said, last over the line was the most important thing. That is what we've done here then, and have we made it pay? I think we just about made it, did we? We did, in 10th position, or I'd have thought, or I'd have hoped that we may have been a bit more comfortable than that, but nonetheless then, we did get into the top 10 shootout for just the second time this season then, with Sainz, Ocon, Magnussen, Gasly and Kvyat there all dropping out in that session. But we've made Q3 on once again, and it's looking like we'll be starting the soft tyres tomorrow then, but I don't think we really had much choice there though, to be fair. And we'll see what we can do then with our Q3 lap time then. It was only 8th for our initial run, so hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit better than that then, although Leclerc is only 7th, so maybe just the pace isn't really there, not as maybe as strong as we would have hoped here maybe. Obviously quite a lot of corners here, but not many straights, and in fact our final run has been ruined once again then. Another invalidated lap time, so we're not going to improve on this 8th place unfortunately, and in fact Ricciardo did actually improve there to go ahead of us, so we are down in 9th on the grid then. It's not where we really wanted to be then. Leclerc only 6th. I think for the team as a whole it was a bit of a difficult one here then. We were actually a bit closer to our teammate though, so that's something to be a bit happier about then, as it was as usual the team Mercedes at the front, and Max Verstappen then at his home race is going to be qualifying, well, going to be starting from 3rd place.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. The weather hasn't been ideal in qualifying. What's your take on it? Your teammate beat you today. Was it a setup issue or something else? Appreciate your time.
So we actually made some progress then with our rivalry on Sainz today then, managing to out-qualifying him and bring the scores back to being level. So that is good for us then. Hopefully we can push on and take the lead in that rivalry then with a good result here this weekend. And yeah, we'll see what is going to be in store for us then in the race. It's obviously, it was forecast to be dry, but now it's saying there's going to be a bit of rain at the end. So yeah, that's another bit of a spanner in the works then. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race, and we shall head into it now.
It was 35 years ago that the late great Niki Lauda took his 25th and final Grand Prix win here at Zandvoort. He came from 10th on the grid to beat his McLaren teammate Alain Prost by just 0.2 of a second. Well, Zandvoort is a very different circuit today, of course, but still one with an incredible legacy. And we're going to add to that. Welcome along to the 2020 Dutch Grand Prix. A lap of this short 2.6 mile Zandvoort circuit features 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left. The main straight is 678 metres long and heads into turn 1, the Tarzan corner. With DRS down the main straight into the braking zone, that could be the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Stroll, Sergio Perez, and Leclerc, Ricciardo, the scientist, Norris, and Carlos Sainz, Ocon, Magnussen, Daniel Kvyat, and Grosjean, Albon, Giovinazzi, Nicholas Latifi, and George Russell. Gasly and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
The team has selected for us a one-stop strategy in this race. Obviously, it's not looking like we may well be doing any one-stop today then with that weather forecast. It's looking like it's going to get quite heavy there by the end of the race, so it'll be interesting to see exactly when that rain hits and how much of an effect it's going to have on the race then. Obviously, there's a good chance we'll have our pit stop well out of the way then by the time the rain comes down. So I think going on to hard tyres then, just in case we can still go to the end, is probably the best decision there. So I think the team have actually made a decent call there for us, and we'll just have to see what we can do then. Only a couple of places behind our teammate then because of that grid penalty for Alex Albon, so we're probably going to have to watch out for him coming through the field at some point, although of course overtaking here is very difficult with only one or two maybe well, there's 2 DRS zones, but it's still quite hard to get a good run down then. We'll see what happens though as we're lined up on the grid and we've got the lights coming on now. Away we go, and it is once again then a pretty good launch. Our teammates had a pretty bad one in fact, and we've actually been a bit boxed in here then by just him being a bit slow, and round outside is going to come Lando Norris then, and he has passed us then, so it's been a bad start for both of us then really, as Norris is going to stay ahead then. We thought about having a look there, but he managed to hold on. We're trying to look around the outside, but he's always going to have that one covered then. We're just going to put the ERS done onto overtake, see if we can follow him here, but there's just nowhere to overtake really in this middle part of the lap, so we're just going to have to stay behind really and see if any opportunities will present themselves later on. But Ricciardo is the one who's really made the big gain there, as we had a look at Norris, but just, well, we tried to outbrake him, but there was just never going to be a pass done there. And yeah, it's been a bad start for both me and Charles there then. We both lost the place off the start, although I'd say that me losing the place was more down to his bad start rather than my own there, as we see that Leclerc just was really quite slow off the grid, and I thought about having a look to the inside, but he sort of blocked that off a little bit, and then we just had nowhere to go really. He was slow in front of us. We also had Norris with us on the left hand side, so just not much we could do there, and Norris then got himself up in front of us. We see then the start on board from Leclerc, and just, yep, a bit slow off the line there then. The Verstappen was actually quite slow as well then. Obviously that's not what he'd have wanted in front of his home crowd there, and that allowed Stroll to have a look at him through turn 1. But Ricciardo was the one who was absolutely flying there, right around the outside of Leclerc, and then he's going to go right outside of Perez as well in turn 2 and get the inside line for the hairpin in turn 3 there. So yeah, fantastic start there then from the Renault driver. We'll see on board then from Lando Norris as well, who started behind us there, and you see that, well, it's a good start there, really just got a bit sort of put out really by our teammate in front of us then, sort of holding us up a little bit, and that just gave Norris then a free ticket right outside, and he managed to move himself up a position as we skip then a few more laps. And yeah, as I said, it's very difficult to pass here, so we're going to have to try and pick our moment if we can. Norris doesn't have DRS then to the cars in front. He's dropped a bit too far back. Well, no, in fact he has. We are having a good run here though, but I think we're just a little bit too far back. He didn't really have much of a slipstream there, but he was just about in DRS range, so that probably made a little bit of a difference there then. And we'll have to, it'll actually be a good thing for us really if he actually drops out of DRS range, just so that we could then have a bit more of a straight line speed advantage over him, even though that would obviously mean that we were dropping back quite a bit. As we skip to the next lap then, and it's still looking quite close here then. I think Norris is still going to be just about in DRS range, but we are as well. We're actually a bit closer this time. We've got a great run then towards turn 1. It still looks like we could be a bit too far back here, but we're going to go for it then, up the inside. Norris then for the second week running has not seen us there, as we've gone to pass him, and well, nonetheless then we've made contact, and we have got through then up into 8th position, and yep, finally back to where we started on the grid. As we see then a bit of a three-way battle going on in front of us then, as Perez is now retaking that place off Ricciardo, and obviously gained it off of him at the start. So Perez then back up to 5th place. Racing Point finally showing some pace then this weekend, and Ricciardo's good start then is now starting to come undone then, as the Renault pace just doesn't seem to really be there then, as Leclerc's got a great run now then down the pit straight. We've also got DRS as well, so we're just going to see what is going to play out in front of us then and see if we can pick up any scraps then. Leclerc is running outside of Ricciardo. Ricciardo has a big slide there out of turn 1. That's going to give us a great run then towards turn 2. We dive up the inside, and we're up as well then to 7th position. A terrible half a lap there for Daniel Ricciardo. He's dropped 3 places there. I think just the pace of the Renault just isn't quite up to scratch with all these other cars, and we see there then the pass from Leclerc, a big slide from Ricciardo out of turn 1, and then that just allowed us to get a great run then out of there and dive inside for the next right hander. We did actually have to back off a bit, but I think just the run was so bad there for him that still managed to work out for us there. And yeah, we just see it again. Probably the tyres going off a bit as well at this stage, and yeah, Ricciardo then from 5th to 8th in just a few corners there. As we see then on lap 7, Leclerc now battling Perez for P5, so finally starting to see a bit more pace then from the Ferrari. It looked like Racing Point was certainly a bit quicker than us then earlier on in the weekend, but now we're starting to show a bit of race pace then. Leclerc is right going side by side then for pretty much that entire final sector then with Perez. It looks like he's finally got it done then with DRS. Can we do what we did last time as well then and just pick up the scraps? It looks like we may be a little bit too far back here then. And if Perez doesn't make any mistakes, then he's probably going to hang on to it. And indeed he does there. So we obviously want to try and get past as quickly as we can as well, just so that we don't get left behind here then, because Leclerc certainly seems to be on a bit of a charge now then. They'll be cruising up to the other racing point of Lance Stroll. And we've caught then Perez without DRS there then. So that's what I was talking about. That really just plays into our hands. We can run it right around the outside then, pretty much on the racing line there. And we are now up to 6th place. So it's now turned into quite a good race then for us as a team. We'll see how it plays out then, obviously with rain on the way as well. Leclerc then just had a little bit more pace than us. He pulled out the gap by a few more tenths there. And we're now going to pit then for our only scheduled stop of this race then for the medium tyres, but I imagine it won't be the only stop we make today then, as then we come then to change our tyres onto the mediums. We get held a little bit there for Ricciardo coming in, which we're not having really much luck with that then so far this season, but nonetheless then out of the pits we come, and we'll see then just how well, just where everything shakes out then once everyone has pitted there. Something that was interesting actually behind was that Carlos Sainz started on the hard tyres I should say. He qualified 11th, so he had the free choice there. So we'll see how that plays out for him then. As we now see then, Norris is in, Perez, Leclerc. We'll see then if we've managed to get a jump on our teammate. It doesn't look like it. We have, in fact, he's just pulled away from us, and Perez has actually closed back in on us. So yeah, pit early there didn't really work out for us. I think maybe just getting these hard tyres up to temperature was the issue there then. As we're getting on then to lap 15, and it is now starting to rain, so we'll see how quickly then this plays a part in the race then, as we see Leclerc's nearly 4 seconds clear now, and he's caught right up to the back of Lance Stroll in the other racing point, and only by the next lap we had been told to come in. Now interestingly there, I actually missed this at the time, but it said 3 stops there on the new strategy that the team have got for us, so it was a bit sketchy, because yeah, I only would have thought I'd be coming in just this one time now then to go on to Inters, as Leclerc came in on the same lap, but I think it was better for us to queue than to go around another lap, because the rain did come down really quickly here then. So whilst we were in the pits longer than we would have liked there, and we did indeed lose a place to Perez, I think we probably would have lost a lot more there if we had gone round again. So I think that was just damned if we did, damned if we didn't, but we were a lot less damned if we did this. So yeah, that's sort of how it just worked out really. But we do have, it looks like, a bit more confidence here than Perez, so maybe we'll just drive straight past him here, but not quite there then, as the DRS is now disabled. But we use our overtake though to have a look at Perez through a flat out section, but just nowhere to overtake here, so that isn't going to work out. But later on in the lap then we catch up to a few people who didn't pit, Esteban Ocon and Daniel Kvyat then, and well, Perez has gone the wrong way there because Kvyat's blocked him. We've taken both of them there on that little run then towards the turns, I think 12 and 13 here, or 11 and 12, I'm not sure, and Ocon is just very slow in front of us there. We managed to navigate him without too many issues, and we have retaken that place then from Perez, but we're now about 8 seconds behind Stroll and Leclerc, so that's the only downside, but we're back to the position we were. But for Carlos Sainz then, I was saying about he started on hard tyres, that has worked out very nicely for him because he's now up to 4th position there, just behind the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas, so that worked out fantastically for him. For us though, our pace on the Inters was pretty good here then. We managed to close down that gap to Stroll and Leclerc. I think our teammate probably getting a bit held up here then, because he's been on the back of that racing point for quite a few laps now. So it'll be interesting to see what our pace would have been like if we'd both been in clear air compared to each other. But nonetheless then, we closed right up to the two of them now then, and well, it's surely only a matter of time then before we're on to them. But of course we can't forget, our team are expecting us in again. They told us another stop would be coming then when we pitted the Inters, so are the team about to play some dodgy strategy with us here then, right as we're about to pass Leclerc? Well, we cross the line then, start lap 26, and they are indeed calling us in again then for another stop for the intermediate tyres. We're going to have a look at our tyres. They could go to the end from there, surely. What are the team thinking here then? I do not know, but there are yellow flags out in front of us, and it is because Valtteri Bottas is out of the race then. So that is big news there then. Winner of the first race, obviously going to be pretty much one of the only two people in this title race then with Lewis Hamilton, because Mercedes are so far clear and we've just seen him there parked up at the side of the track. So it's looking like a mechanical issue there then for the Finn, as we see him then exiting turn 3, and just, yeah, power looks to have gone there then. So yeah, there's a big shame then for Bottas. I think he already had lost out to Verstappen then, from having to go around again at some point on those slick tyres. So he wasn't having the best day, but it's just got a whole lot worse there then. For us though, we're going to see what the team were thinking then with this strategy, because it doesn't look like anyone else is coming in. So have the team just made a bit of a mess of this one then? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously this is part of this career mode save, part of the challenge. We've got to do what Ferrari say, we've got to follow the Ferrari strategy. Have they made a mistake here then? We're going to exit the pits. Are we in about 8th place? It's going to be closer with Norris though in 9th. We're going to be side by side into turn 2. We just about going to edge him out, are we? He's going to be inside line for the hairpin. We managed to run it running outside then. We've got so much more grip on these tyres, and we are in 8th place, but have we thrown away so much more than that then today with that strategy? As you can see how close it was. It could have been even worse for us there then if Norris had managed to get ahead of us, but thankfully the fresh tyres, we had so much more grip there. Well, if Ferrari have messed things up, then McLaren have really royally screwed up then, because Sainz is now on the wet tyres. So if the track conditions don't deteriorate now, then they have just thrown away a fantastic result, because yep, Sainz is going to rejoin behind us then in 8th position. So whatever Ferrari were thinking, McLaren have just thought something even more bizarre there than by the looks of things, because the Inters are still going very nicely here then, and our Inters are going very nicely then, with much fresher ones than everyone else. We have closed up to the back of Sergio Perez then for, will be 6th place, which is where we were before we pitted, but obviously we were ahead of Albon. So we obviously want to be catching both of these two if we can then, and at least we'll be back to where we were before we pitted. We get a great run out of the hairpin. We're going to go into overtake. Well, so you can't pass through here, but we managed to do it on this occasion with so much fresher tyres, using our overtake at the right moment, and we're up then into 6th position, back to where we were before we pitted. But can we catch Albon then to really feel like we've, the team have redeemed themselves with that strategy? Well, our tyres are still in pretty good condition, but I think we're just going to run out of laps here then to catch Albon. The gap started to fall at a slower rate really. We were still closing in, but just as the tyre wear built up, it just wasn't working out for us, and it's looking like we're going to run out of laps then to catch him. But someone who might not run out of laps then is Carlos Sainz, and he is past Perez there then, so the wet tyre is finally starting to come into play a bit, but it's going to be too late for it to salvage anything good from his race. But nonetheless then, we're going to have to watch out on this final lap, as we close to within 2 seconds of Albon, but it's Sainz behind us and he's finally got those wet tyres switched on. He's going to be side by side with us then towards the chicane. He's edging ahead. We're just going to have to try and go as late as we can on the brakes, and that's exactly what we do. We've run him out wide, and we just about, it looks like, managed to hold on to 6th place here then. So it could have been worse for us today then if we lost that position, but still the team, you'd have to say, blew it with that strategy call, because, well, we were in what would have been a podium battle. But nonetheless then, as we use overtakes to the line, it's 6th place at the Dutch Grand Prix.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Here is a replay then of that final lap scrap we had with Carlos Sainz then. Of course our rival there, so it was absolutely crucial that we beat him there then for our rivalry. And look at this then, side by side in what would be the final DRS zone there, but obviously in these conditions there was none. We didn't really see a lot of overtaking here then, well, apart from that one move from I think Perez on Ricciardo, but we just about managed to do enough there to hold him off. And well, 6th place there, it's another solid result, but we could have had more today I think if we hadn't been called in for that stop. But nonetheless then, it's Lewis Hamilton who takes the win. Max Verstappen then in front of his home crowd gets a very strong 2nd place there, with Lance Stroll then finally racing point, showing some good pace here then. He finishes 3rd, although he was 41 seconds off the lead there. Leclerc then another strong 4th. There we are in 6th place with Alex Albon between us then. A good recovery from him after that grid drop. And it was the two McLarens then both scored points. So did Perez though, although quite a disappointing weekend for him compared to his teammate Ricciardo down in 10th place as well after that strong start. Valtteri Bottas then the only retirement today then, so that was obviously crucial then in terms of the championship. And yeah, that's going to have had a big impact then, of course, with Lewis Hamilton taking the victory here today then. We're going to look at the standings now then, and Hamilton has extended his lead to 27 points. So yeah, that's a crushing blow then for Bottas then. He's already got quite a bit of work now then to make up so early on in the season. And yeah, it's already looking like it could be a bit of an uphill task for him. I don't think anyone else is really going to be challenging the Mercedes here then. But it is a bit of a Noah's Ark then in the top 6. We got the 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bulls and 2 Ferraris. We're still just about ahead of Leclerc then. That's obviously partly down to him having that engine failure in China and the grid penalty in Vietnam. But I certainly think we were screwed over a bit today as well. So maybe it's time to even out a little bit. And then we're in 3rd place then as well in the Constructors, with McLaren Racing Point overtaking both Renault and AlphaTauri this weekend. And Mercedes are still well clear then at the front.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. Your team must be ecstatic with how you're performing. How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today? What was your teammate's secret to success today? You had a close battle today, didn't you? Appreciate your time.
So yeah, as I was saying, that was obviously crucial for us in terms of our rivalry, that we managed to beat Sainz today then, and we have now taken the lead in that rivalry. So hopefully we can keep this going then for the remaining races, and we've had some good acclaim gain as well there then today. So it's a shame we didn't quite get the result we wanted and maybe deserved with our pace there, but still it's another solid points finish, and we making a bit of progress and hopefully with moving up the field a bit more. So we'll have to see then how things continue to develop then, as next time we've got the Spanish Grand Prix then at Catalonia. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I shall hopefully see you in the next one.